Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is November 30th, 2023. Yeah? Is it 2023 still? Yeah? Not. Fine. I hear you shuffling.
What's up? I just did a nice little move that kicked my headphones out, but I'm here.
Very nice. So it looks like it's you and I for
Oh,
today. It's you and I as we walk through the day, as we walk through life, as we walk through whatever this day is going to be. Um, again, data comes out pointing in the right direction as far as everything. It's really, really hard to knock at the data as it continues to come out. It becomes one of those kind of curious things that you're sitting there looking at is like, well, jobless claims weren't up. So what does that mean? I know, does it mean that the economy is better than not? Is that a bad
hmm.
thing? Should we be sad about it that people have jobs and aren't losing their jobs? What are we supposed to do here, Stonks?
Mm, I don't know if I'm gonna feel sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting bait. But what we do know is if we're watching the ES, there's several levels that were put out, to pay attention to. 45.55 being one of them, which we played with yesterday, and we got a bounce. We're trading 45.75. That 45.76 to 77 is another area of peak interest at the same time. If you're watching the NQ, you can look at 15. 984-ish, 86-ish, somewhere in there. So that's about, what is that? That's a pretty good ways down as far as a level there. And then if we look on this really isn't that much down. And if we look on the other side at the ES, kind of the same little deal. We're kind of trapped in between two ranges with about 20 handles between that where we just got through rejecting here this 45.78, 45.77, whatever you want to call it, down to 45.55. That appears to be the trading range that is being offered within the moment. Data is good. There's nothing bad out there. Yesterday we saw a day where the VIX was elevated and moving higher, and we saw the dollar kind of catch it a little bit and start moving higher at the same time. Now coming into today, we have to kind of evaluate what we're looking at with the dollar that's up today, the VIX that's up today, and our markets are doing a okay within the moment. So how do we look at this, Stonk? How do we look at this from the standpoint, okay, what is the next move? Because you can look at the chart and be like, okay, so we have been consolidating and we've been testing both upper and lower um, areas, right? Isn't that all we've been doing?
Mm-hmm. Very range
So,
bound.
mhm. So then you look at the dollar, which is a thing. Especially when you have jobless claims come in below, the dollar is going to find strength within that number. But we also did not sell down substantially. So if you're looking for upside, in my opinion, you need to be tracking out the dollar and see if the VIX is going to give back some of what it did yesterday. Those two pieces. If I want to be a little bit more simplistic about the whole thing, yesterday we witnessed, the strength of Apple to where Apple going down 3 cents, would equal 2 to 3 points on the NQ. We saw that all day yesterday. It was very dramatic. This sell down on Apple that was very controlled, very deliberate. This falling wedge, they kept on falling and falling and falling, going from what 192.50 all the way down to 188 or 188 something in there. Um, we tested that dark pool, the massive one, 188.88, and we got the bounce on Apple. But is it over for Apple? As far as a downside push, personally, I don't think that it is, and I'm basing that purely off of flow. Flow yesterday on Apple, they took a lot of calls off. They were even moving off of the 190 weekly calls yesterday towards the end of the day, which is not a really spectacular sign and feel for us overall. So there's that piece of it. Yesterday, also, where do we close on SQQQ, Stonks?
Let's take a look.
I'll answer the question for you. We closed at 1589 on the nose, right on that dark pool, and we're currently trading just underneath it.
Yeah.
Odd, curious. So that's kind of what we have. Now, we do have Fed speakers. We have Williams coming off in about 20 minutes. We do have additional data at the top of the hour. We do have additional data throughout the week. If you're into geopolitical type stuff, you have OPEC that continues to go back and forth as far as when they're going to meet, how they're going to meet, what they're going to say, what they're going to do. Looks like there's some back and forth within all of that. So you have that. You have potentially the ceasefire ending with Palestine and Israel. Not that that's had a big effect on the market, but you just don't know what the market's going to choose to digest and make either negative or positive as far as price action. So that's about as good as I can set up the day. And through this, the other piece of it, Elon, did Elon things last night on an interview. I've been a very, very harsh critic of him recently. I'm still, bullish Tesla, but I'm still very, very irritated with him in general. Um, Extremely irritated with his messaging, how he's choosing to handle scrutiny is something that we should all look at in our life and be like, if people are scrutinizing you, if people are criticizing you, instead of getting defensive completely about it, why not try to take a second and evaluate why? Why? Now, if you can just brush it off and be like, hey, there's just nothing there, they're just being dicks, well, then there you go. But in this particular instance, I don't think that that's the case. I think he's acting like a child. Um, and I think that that is hurting the stock price. That's what I believe. So we had that, and then we have Cybertruck event, which unfortunately it doesn't. It seems like no matter what the event is, no matter what it is, it sells off after the fact, whether it be Apple or Tesla or Microsoft or whoever. Just pick one. For the most part, an event equals sell. So that's how I have everything set up, stocks. I'm going to be very keened into Apple and Apple Flow. I know the Microsoft Flow to my eye has not been friendly either. It just has not. And for my own mind, what I would like to see as far as the market move, especially after rejecting that upper level that people are talking about here pre-market, that we come down, we test yesterday's lows, and we figure out what we do from there. That would be my preference. Do you have a preference? Do you have something that you would like to chat about?
Yeah, let's do it all. I think it's going to be, the ones you're interested in. Microsoft and Apple had big dark pools last night, so I think those will be helpful. We'll get into that and get into the charts. And yeah, fucking Elon. When someone said that, I didn't watch the thing. I thought they were joking. I was like, is that really what happened? No joke. Not a joke.
No, there was no joke. I was just sitting there going, it's like, when you say that, right? When you say fuck them like he did, you're coming from a position that you have more money in God and you don't need them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your position. Well, I don't need them. I can just go get a new ball. That's how you're trying to position it, as opposed to taking any level of responsibility in a meaningful way. As far as, what, maybe what I said was really stupid. Maybe I should walk it back a little bit. Maybe I should be a little bit more discerning in what comes out of my mouth when I have multiple companies in multiple industries and multiple sectors that are relying upon, multiple people agreeing that I am okay to do business with. It's like, to him, it's like, let the product speak for itself. Nobody gives a fuck about Twitter, but they do care about the impact that it creates when you decide to alienate a certain segment of your consumer, and that's what he's done with Tesla.
Yep.
So it's like, that's cool, Elon. It's like you want to pretend, and I'm going off a tangent. We're going to flip it straight to you. Maybe we'll get into it intraday. But in a nutshell, Elon is a scared child that cares what everybody thinks about him, and he has an inability to acknowledge that. So please carry on.
Well, there you go. All right. Let's get into it here. We'll check. I guess it's just me and you, so we'll do some news. And
You're
then
going
we'll
to show that Head and Shoulders on the ES over there?
yeah, yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And then we've got this kind of rising channel we're stuck in. So, yeah, we'll jump into that. Let's look here. What we got. Snow, good ER. CRM, good ER. I guess there was an email that leaked from AVGO. They're trying to, this whole VMware is really jacking them up. They're trying to find alternatives to address that issue. Crowd says they can use AI to prevent ransomware. So Crowd's doing well. Ford reinstated their guidance. And let's see. VFS gap up 25%. I think we saw flow on that, and we had some trades going out on that one. That was nice. OPEC meeting to discuss oil cuts. We knew that was going on. I think you mentioned that. And is there anything else interesting in here? Let's see. Novo Nordisk finds what Wegovy up 33%. I don't know what to say about that. And let's see, any interesting upgrades and downgrades. Pins upgraded, Snap upgraded, SPR upgraded, and then Woof and Okta downgrades. Anything else we care about? Fitch downgraded. I believe that was on the big dark pool list. And Billy price downgrade. So that kind of looks like anything. Nokia downgraded. We got the memes going again, which is interesting. All right, let's get into charts here. So yeah, we've got a couple things going on here. You can see this Head and Shoulders potentially. The other, I have this blue box, which is basically this candle's low to this candle's high. Appears to still be a important area as we come. Each candle comes back down into it. We haven't had a candle body close below basically this candle's high right here. So we'll be watching to see if we get down here. What happens down here at 45.57 here on the ES, and then we've got this Head and Shoulders, which this would kind of be. Go ahead.
I think it's going to be. I think it's important to say that area in there between 45.60 and 45.50 is really the tilt to it all, because it's like you have everybody looking at different levels in there, but that zone in there is something special. That 10 point zone, that one handle little zone in there is make or break overall. And just depending how you try to play it, you can hurt yourself trying to think that you're going to get it right if you don't understand that that's more of there's a range in there as opposed to it being the exact number on the dot. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure. Yeah. I think you were saying we got the ES Twitter people saying similar stuff. Mancini was looking at 45.65. So this is all going to be important. And yeah, then it's like you give that's where the Head and Shoulders would potentially confirm. That's where if we were going to lose this trend line below, and then Mr. T would be looking at all these bulls break-even stops as liquidity down here, which is marked up by that 45.75 is that this horizontal line here. I've got this double top marked out because eventually we'll be thinking, okay, well, bears got break-even stops up there. So that's kind of what the ES is looking like moving into the day. Jump over to the NASDAQ, a bit similar, but not as clear of the Head and Shoulders look. Maybe you got your left shoulder, head, right shoulder there. It's just kind of funkier looking. And I believe this blue box here is going to be this 4-hour gap. So we've got this candle's high to this candle's low. And you can see, our trades up into that area are getting rejected. So I think this is going to be a key spot with room up. If we can run up to this 16,112, it'll be interesting to see what we do up there. And again, similarly, we've got bulls break-even stops, a lot of stops sitting down here below, and then the double top up there. So just going to kind of see what we get. If we break below, then this will be a orange box. So it's going to be a weekly gap. So we've got some downside targets. If we really start pushing down, we'll see what we get. jump over to the Russell. We just this same box. So here we're kind of sitting on top of it, which is potentially a good signal. We keep coming back down, trading, testing this area. We've got the double top above. We know there's going to be some stops sitting there, and then you can see there's a ton of stops sitting below on the Russell down there, 1789 below, and then we've got 1833.9 above. Similar rising setup. So just going to kind of see what we get on the shorter time frame charts. Look like watching the 5-minute intraday, and then we've got this. If we, I know Bender, he'll jump into the 15-minute to kind of look for scalp entries. So we've got fair value gap fills here right at the top of the torture box, and then a 15-minute gap fills down there, 1802.8. So a couple spots I'll be interested to see the reactions down there. We also talked about Apple is going to be important. So Apple, this was the big dark pool line last night, 189.39. There was also money sitting already at 189.79. So I've just kind of lumped it all in here. It's close enough. And
how big were those, Stonk?
This was 10% was at 189.39, and just over 5% was 189.79. So I just lumped it all in at 15%.
And then we have 2% down at 188.88.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I just had this. You can see I had marked up 188.90, so we had the same idea. You can just see how that's a key level without whether dark pool or not. Wick, wick, wicks, wicks. So it's kind of what I got here on Apple above. You can see key level.
And you can make the case that thing is starting to look like it might roll over.
Yep. Yeah, I think we saw like a big call writer for the end of December the other day. So it does look a bit sketchy. And we were waiting on this trend line all day yesterday, and it overshot it, and then we're back above it. So I think I'll just kind of continue to monitor that, throw that out when we seem to be coming down for a check of this trend line. We'll see what we get over there. And then Microsoft. So we got this weird, maybe rising megaphone type of thing. The big dark pool from last night is going to be this 378.85. That was $3.8 billion or something like that, 17.5% average 30-day, and we're kind of drifting below. We've also got potential left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and this trend line again that we're coming down to check. So if we hold below this dark pool, 378.85, you're watching 377.44. There's 10% average 30-day sitting on that level there. Let's see, anything else interesting? I think you mentioned the dollar. Dollar is making a nice push here out of this falling wedge. We've got this fair value gap here. You can see on the 4-hour, this purple box, potential target to the upside. It looks like we broke this wedge, and then this was a daily gap that we've now traded up and through. So if we close above this area, I'll be looking for this to work as support down there on the dollar. But it looks like the dollar's kind of done going down. So we'll I'll kind of keep that in mind during the day for gold and some of the other stuff out there. But I think that's kind of it for now. That's all I got.
All right, Stonks. Thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it. So I think we have a pretty good idea of what we need to be looking for. Pretty good idea. So I think that the plan has been mapped up in a lot of ways. I think that in a lot of ways, and correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll just use the ES specifically. This area on the ES, you can call it 45, 65, you can call it 45, 50, whatever you want to call it in there. If we lose 45, 50, the wheels are going to fall off of this mother. And we can get an exacerbated sell. We have to take out 45.80 in order to get back to the other way. So 20 to 30 handles in range to be able to play back and forth before, we either get heaven or hell. Is that fair?
Yep. I think based on yesterday's price action, it's like we had the data pre-market. We had a nice run. It's like maybe bulls are running out of firepower or something. So I think it's important that we are. I know at least for me, I was a little bit too much biased trying to buy yesterday as opposed to sell, which would have been the easier trade. So I'm just going to kind of go into the day keeping that in mind.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about it is they had us on breakout for a good amount of time before they gave up. If you and I know this because that area that I bought yesterday on the NQ, anticipating the breakout, ended up me taking a pretty thick loss at the end of the day. I got some of it back after hours on that little bump and rally. But that was absolutely without question. They had it looking like it could break out and over. But if you go back and you look at it in retrospect, they had SQQQ sitting in a massive bull flag pretty much all day long until it broke to the upside.
Yep.
And it did break to the upside, and you could see it's like, yeah, no, that's a rising wedge on both SPY and Q, or the NQ and in the ES. That's what was going on. But it was like, yeah, but you're right there. You are one ripper candle, just one ripper candle away above that resistance, in order to get this thing to party and throttle back up to the previous highs. Apple wasn't having any of it. It was a wet blanket on all of us. So we know the components that we need to look at for the day. Let's make sure we're aware and astute and following these areas, and have a good one, man. Have a really good day. Stonkington, thank you so much. I appreciate you this morning, man. Really, really do, homeboy. Thank you for coming to play with me.
Good times. Good stuff.
All right, everybody. We have 17 minutes till open. 17 minutes till open. We'll see you soon.